much for your just inspiring and wide-ranging talk this morning. It was so challenging. I just want to start with this distinction you made between racism and discrimination, which I thought was so helpful. Racism coming out of our thoughts, our beliefs, and discrimination being actions we take. If you could just continue to develop that a little bit.
Yes. Thank you, Ned. I think when we say racism, it's the ideology, the thoughts. But when we move to apply our thought about being racist, that is, the application is discrimination, that the racism becoming material, concrete. So, and most of the time, they are the same. The one point with two faces. Discrimination is the application with putting in practice your racist thoughts and ideology. I want it to be quite clear. Same reality, like a coin, two faces.
And you talked a bit about your own upbringing. It was fascinating hearing your story, starting off the kid who, is the rural one, and going from there. And how do you feel that your own background, helped you cope with and face racism and discrimination? What tools and media did you use?
I moved so much in my life. I started moving when I was 5. And I'm still on the one. I'm still moving. So at some point you have to find ways to adapt yourself to new realities. And the first step for me is when I left my village to go to school to the city. I was like a stranger there. And the young folks were speaking about me, and at some point I had to say to myself, I cannot go back to the village. I have to stay where I am and do what I've been here to do. So I was only 5. I started developing that kind of mentality. Wherever you are, you go to do something. Don't let things distract you from what you have to do. There will be challenges everywhere, but you must know what you are here to do. In other words, what you are business for. And that helped me along the way with my faith. Challenges, problems. I know one thing. At the end of the day, I have a mission. And I cannot say to my God, because somebody was racist against me, I couldn't do it. I have to find ways to do my mission. To give time to that person to reflect on his or her action and to change. My friends at the primary school, after 1 year they changed and we became friends. But I didn't let them distract me from what my mission was to go to school. I was there for schooling. And I did my best to get myself adapted, adjusted to the situation, and to do what I had to do. And I used that all my life. I was 5, now I'm 67. You do the maths.
Anyone have any comments or questions? We'd love to hear from you as well. Brandon, will you have any standing up?
Yes, thank you. Merci, évêque Oge. Merci, Neil. Mon question, c'est autour de notre première conversation, M. Oge, que je me rappelle très bien que vous êtes venu pour notre dînerie. Et on était tous en train de parler de nos défis immobiliers dans des églises du centre-ville. Et on a vraiment parlé avec beaucoup de passion. Où est-ce qu'on peut vraiment parler de ces grandes questions? Et c'était dans le contexte de tout ce mouvement de diversité dans nos paroisses, etc. Bon, mon question, c'est vraiment, c'est quoi votre suggestion? C'est quoi, de où est-ce qu'on peut vraiment parler de ces questions stratégiques? Et je vous donne une deuxième couche, un deuxième niveau de contexte. For some of you, you're aware that we held the Montreal Roundtable on the transition of religious property recently, looking at the future of Montreal's 400 churches. And we had all of the big foundations of the province and the city, and Bishop Mary was there, and Robert, and as well as the Catholic Church, and all of the Anglican United, Presbyterian United, etc. And what really struck me is the amount of interest that the large foundations and government have when we truly are reaching the most unreached and those who have been excluded from religious contexts. When they see us doing that, they want to help. When we do the opposite and we serve ourselves, they don't help. So is it possible that this work of diversity and equity and inclusion and intercultural thinking is a gateway to society coming in to be with us again, right? Of coming back into favor. I'm excited that the journey from the anti-Black racism working group to the racism working group, to me is a beautiful journey. Because we started on the anti-Black theme, it's broadened out, now here we are at the training. What does the next level of broad look like to really talk about these things? And why the opposite of what I mean is we zipper back to the old ways that we know aren't working, and we know nobody else will support. And frankly, lots of us are struggling to support it. So how do we have the bigger conversation about this? What does, if it's going like this, Bishop, what does this look like?
All right. I think one thing we need to do is to leave our comfort zone. Leaving our comfort zone for me is to open to take risk. There is no mission without risk. We have to learn how to take risk in doing mission. We have to change the way that we do mission. And the field is out there. Look at the diversity in Montreal right now. The governors are getting new immigrants, new refugees. They are opening the field to us. What are we doing to make those people feel welcome? What are we ready to give up to open ourselves to them? It's challenging. We need to learn how to take risk. And one of the beauty of our Anglicanism is the space left to us for the local flavor. What we Anglicans in Montreal, who are bilingual now, we are bilingual diocese now, we can open ourselves to people who speak French, English, also other groups. Look at the diversity in the room. When I used to go in Africa, and East Africa, and some people come to me, they say a word of French. I feel welcome. Going to West Africa, we have a Creole in Haiti. Some of the words are from West Africa. For instance, I was somewhere in a place, so they let me give you a guac. I feel at home. It means a drink in Asian Creole. We have to go to meet the people where they are. As a challenge. We have to, as Anglicans, we can be game changer. We're already an open church. What I'm going to say is quite strong, but there's other church as open as Anglican, the Anglican Church. Just be what we are called to be. Be open, accept differences. And Deborah just said it, unity, not uniformity. If we can understand ourselves very well, the field is ours. Be open, take risk, and do what we have to do. Thank you.
So you got me thinking. I was part of a church parish that closed because we ran out of money. and we opened a new one to try it out. And I think a lot of you know the story, St. James the Apostle to St. Jack's. So through that personal but also collective experience, I'm wondering if you could speak about, as we step out of our comfort zone, as we open ourselves, as we seek unity, not uniformity, I'm comfortable being able to midwife the new system, the new ways, welcome new people in. Something that I just like your wisdom on is how we do hospice care for what we're leaving behind. I think we could do a better job around how we're grieving, and as pastors, you're trained in pastoral care, but at the organizational level, I'm not sure that we have the tools or ways to do that. So I'd just love any of your thoughts or ideas around how we have grace with each other, acknowledge, have gratitude for what we're leaving behind, which is necessary. Like in the world, in nature, we compost.
Yes. Listen, it's quite a tough question, but my point is, as long as we know where we are going, where we're heading to, we can get the help we need. For instance, I don't know how to drive. I know to go to Quebec City. Actually, I have to take east, not west. I call up on the driver and say, take me to Quebec City. If you take west, I say, no, I want to go the other way. What I'm trying to say is, when we sit down, we think where we want to go. We know there are people who maybe are not Anglicans, but with the tools and the skills that we need, open ourselves to others. And never forget, we are the church we are today because at some point we said yes to the finding of the social sciences, to have a better understanding of human being, to have the gospel adapted to our reality. So as long as we know where we go, where we want to go, the skills will follow. We get the people the skills that we need, the expertise that we need, that will follow. But we need to make our choices. We need to take risk and to be missionary. That's what it is.
Hello, thank you very much, Bishop Oge, for enlightening us and allowing us to hear about your life and how your life has brought us a greater vision of the kingdom of God and what we're called to, and how your life experience has given us something to think about. I want to ask you to give us some guidance on allowing our communities of faith to be more open and to other people. I mean, I didn't grow up Canadian. I did not grow up Anglican. I grew up from a Finnish Lutheran background, and I'm very aware of the cultural baggage that many churches have. And I know that the people in my church, we have a lot of Africans who are here for schooling. But we're using an English prayer book, and we're singing English hymns that are very old, and we're not necessarily providing a worship experience that's culturally relevant to the people that we are aiming to serve. How can we overcome our obstacles within our own tradition that we dearly love to really make this multicultural? Our liturgies, our prayer book, our prayers, the way we worship. Tomorrow, many of you may be celebrating the Indigenous Day of Prayer, as we're really intentional to decolonize the way we go about arriving at consensus and decision-making, how we are as church. What are the things that you see that are holding us back? And what are the things you could challenge us with for really making our communities multicultural on Sunday morning?
Thank you, Stephen. I don't want to challenge you that much. It's happening already in this diocese. My brother Chris Barriger from St. Peter's and St. Mark's can tell you a lot about it. As a matter of fact, I took my boat from St. Paul's to his church to see how we can change. The Sunday morning, the service in multi-languages at St. Mark and St. Paul. That's the first good starting point. So people who speak Mandarin, who speak Chinese, whatever, Spanish, feel welcome. It's happening already in the diocese. I think we have to take time to share with one another what's going on. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. It's happening. So if you want to do that at St. Joseph's, St. Anne de Bellevue, talk to Chris. He's doing very well already. And we need to share experience. And there is no things as leaders that we cannot share. We're in the phase of reimagining our way of doing mission. We need to learn from one another. I want to try something. I'm not sure how to get it landed. I talk to a colleague. And I go to see that colleague, learn from him or from her. And then there are times it's not enough for me as a priest only to go. I take my people. We learn together how to do it. If you want to do something like this, Chris, please talk to Chris. I'm quite sure there are others in the diocese. Those kind of things happening already.
Actually, Fraser has some experience with that too in Granby. You've got quite a melange of different in your church. You want to say a word about that? There's a lot of exciting things happening in St. George Granby as well, along many lines.
If I want to say a word about that, I could talk about hours, more hours and hours about it. But if I want to say, Steve, just open yourself to see who are there, because you're talking to them and you're praying with them. So just open yourself to. So instead of being top down, the prayer comes from bottom up, and allow the space so they can be and show you how they worship and why they want, and allow the languages to flow. And what is interesting is that sometimes when we think about, my background is cathedral and it flows from English French, but suddenly I come to a parish where there's people that speak English and no French, and people that speak French and no English, and there's Spanish people that do not speak either French or English, or Ukrainians that are just arriving and have no idea of any of the others. So how do you handle that? You transcend all that, because we're here just for Jesus and allowed everybody to worship and bring out their needs, and knowing that we're there for them. And we become and we build community. We're called to build community. So just allow those spaces within the liturgy. I guess there's not a real formula. It's just the heart out.
Thanks, Fraser. So, as you say, it is happening in different ways in the diocese. Graham.
I'm partly emboldened because two people told me in the break that they missed my interventions earlier in the day, so I'm sorry if they when I first started my training as an Anglican, it was as a boy chorister. Then in studying for ordination at Cambridge University, Ridley Hall, I learned some very important Anglican concepts like yes, but, or both and. And so as I hear this conversation and I hear your response, Bishop, I'm called to remember Bishop Leslie Newbegin's theory of missional distance. And for those who don't recall this theory, it's a series of concentric circles, where in the center is me. People who look like me, talk like me, speak like me, come from the same background, culturally, economically, etc. The next round out is those who are the same, but maybe it's a different language. Next round out is the same different language and different country background. Next round out, it's getting very different. Bishop Newbegin's theory of missional distance was saying and noting that when we meet somebody out here on number 4, we have a tendency as Anglicans to bring them back to number 1 before we recognize their leadership. And we need them to come back and look and talk and behave like us before we will treat them as equals and as leaders. So as I look around in this room, I thank God and think this room is a lot more diverse looking than when I got to this diocese 8 years ago, when Bishop Mary started. I mean, praise God for just the way we look, right? That's a starting point. It's something. The way we sound, it's more francophone in this place than it ever has been. But when I look at those that we have sent forward for ordination, or we've even brought it up, say, what do you think? Do you think God might be calling you to lead? They look at that number one, and they think, do you expect me to stand up and look like a 16th century Englishman in order to be a leader in this church? And they, before we've even brought them into the system, they look at that and they see us drawing them to number one, and they say no. So to me, if we are going to be thinking this way, how could we go back to some of that kind of Anglican theology? I know we're going to reach our 20 minutes, so I'll come back to you with the question afterwards. That I think we still need the place. It's not the anti-racism course. It's not Synod. It's a place where we really grapple with these kinds of questions that have been raised. And we really look at those younger people and people out in the number 3s, the number 4s. And how could we really release them to do that? In the UK, this is known as the Peter stream and the Caleb stream of ordination in the Church of England. And the argument was, the only people we're ordaining are Paul's, right? They were taught by the best Rabbi Gamaliel. They came from the right family. They spoke the right way. Well, Peter was a bit rough. And Caleb was even worse. What would it look like to have the Caleb stream, a Peter stream here? And I'll say one thing. This is the only thing I'll say which is a little bit upset that I'm going to say. I saw a photo recently of the working group on the future of Anglican ordination training in Canada. I saw it online and I got very angry because it was 30 people who all run the theological colleges and the commissions for bishops' ordination, etc. 30 people from around Canada, 100% white. Not a single black face in there. And I have said that I refuse to recognize what happened in that conversation on behalf of all those who felt excluded. So what would it mean to get serious about making sure we're not bringing everybody back to that center, that we know that center is not working anyways? Thank you.
We have time for one last question. Did I see Mark Gibson standing at the microphone? We have 2 minutes. So a minute for Mark, and Bishop Oge, you got the last word.
Yes.
His wife asked him if he had to.
Thank you, Neil. I love you too. Graham's intervention was helpful for me in a particular way. It reminded me that in our discussion of diversity and racism and all of those other things, the piece we haven't quite said out loud is our mission needs to be out towards those who are not like us. Because the fact of the matter is everybody is not like me. Everybody is not like you. Everybody is different. But we need to expand that. A great course for that I've come across recently is called Kairos. It's not the same as the Kairos Institute, but it's a great course on how do you reach out missionally to people around you. It's surprisingly Anglican friendly, even though it comes from the Alliance Church or someplace else. So I recommend it to you. May the Lord lead us out of ourselves to this society around us.
Amen.
Amen. Mark, you said it all. I don't need to say anything else except to say, when you leave your comfort zone, be prepared to be challenged and to accept to change. Thank you very much for this privilege. God bless you.